Hi there. It's June the 16th, and we're continuing our journey through the Acts of the Apostles, the book written by Luke as a sequel to his Gospel. And we're in chapter 10, and we're reading from verses 24 to 48. Now, we said before that this is one of the most important steps in the spreading of the good news through the empire. Peter has been invited by Cornelius, a Centurion of the Italian regiment based in the hub of the occupation in Caesarea Maritima, to come and to speak to them. So Peter goes and he comes into the house. The first thing that happens is that Cornelius falls down at his feet. This is what Romans would do to someone who was seen as divine. That Peter is immediately adjusting his culture here and his approach and saying, no, I am not God, I'm just ordinary man like you. This is the amazing thing, God deals with ordinary people, and he lifts him up. And Cornelius explains the vision that he's had, the call that he's had from God, and Peter then says, I now see God is not a favour of any person. God is not favoritistic. He's not just for the Jews. He's opening up the door to the wider world. And so Peter simply delivers to them the good news of Jesus, that Jesus, although he has been moved against by the powers and authorities of this earth, he has conquered death on a cross, he's come back, and now he has been made not just Lord and Messiah of Israel, but Peter says he is Lord of all and of everyone. Pandon is the Greek word he uses, of all and everything. And therefore he tells them that ordinarily Jews wouldn't be allowed to come into the house of a Gentile, but now God has told him to come. He's following God's orders. And now, as Peter is speaking, I love the fact it says, while Peter was still speaking, Peter hasn't even got to choose whether to make an appeal or whether to ask people to be prayed with. The Holy Spirit falls on people and they just begin to speak with tongues and to prophesy as they did on the day of Pentecost. The same thing is happening to these uncircumcised Gentiles as was happening to the Jews on the day of Pentecost. And they begin to speak in tongues and they're absolutely flabbergasted. All of those who come are amazed that God has poured out his Spirit on these Romans, on these occupying forces, on their families and their gathered people there, just as he did on the Jews on the day of Pentecost. God is doing something amazing here. And so Peter then says, well, we can't refuse them baptism. If God has baptized them in the Spirit, if he's plunged them into God, we can surely baptize them in water. And so they're baptized, and this amazing phase of the expansion of the good news of Jesus into the whole earth takes another step forward. It's amazing that God is able to go beyond where we think he can go. God has no no-go zones. And here we see that God is reaching out to people who ordinarily the Jews would have cut themselves off from. We need to be sure that we are always opening the way for no matter who, remembering, as Peter says, that God is no favoritist. God doesn't respect the person. He doesn't look at the face as what the Greek says. He actually embraces everyone as being in his image. Have a very good June the 16th.